Hey folks, my name is Jessica Mashkovich and I am the host of One Take with Jess. Today my guest is Hady Mendez. Hey Hady.
Hi Jessica, how are you?
Good. Thank you for being on with me today. I appreciate it. Just a little bit about you and feel free to blush. Hady started her corporate career. Actually, I don't know what the exact start is, but I'm believing that you started with Anderson Consulting and progressed to JP Morgan Chase, Pershing. She had a very lavish corporate career, working her way up the ladder, and then went off to Bolivia for 2 years. And I was just absolutely astonished. Talk about a pivot and talk about kindness and empathy. I mean, you definitely embody everything. But then you came back and you were community school director at YMCA in the Bronx. So you still had that going on. And now you're back in corporate at Cloudflare, setting up enterprise technology solutions, but you're also leading the charge with their Latinflare, where you are definitely focused in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Rightfully so, and these are things that I guarantee if you're in charge of it, things will change.
Thanks, Jeff.
So welcome, and thank you for taking the time to hang out and chat. I think you have so much to offer and so much to say. And how did you pivot, and why did you pivot, and how did you grow as a person doing it? All those questions, please answer.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. I'm excited to share my story.
So you thought that you were going to work for corporate, and did you see that as being your life? And then when did you all of a sudden decide, I want more, I want something different?
So great question. I would say that when I was in college, I went to Manhattan College in Riverdale in the Bronx, and I studied computer information systems there, and I minored in religious studies. And I think it was then when I knew my truth that I love technology, but I need something else. And I feel like that's kind of always been my story. Is like, I love the technology, but I need like passion and, fire in my belly, and like just something that kind of really gets me going. And so I've always had kind of a little something on the side that just kind of gives me, that reason to come to work and feel like I'm making. What's that?
It feeds your soul.
Yeah, it feeds my soul and makes me feel like I'm being, making a difference and having some kind of impact. And I feel like that's always been the case. I had like you mentioned, I had like a 20 plus year career in corporate. And, then one day kind of, so I didn't always want to go on mission or, I didn't think that I would do something like that, but really I had like a series of events in my life, my mom passing away, my sister, losing my sister to breast cancer, my father, having Alzheimer's and, really severely and needing to be put in a home, where they could take care of him and supervise him, 24 hours. I think when all of that happened, and it happened in a very short period of time, is when I realized that I needed to make sure like my life was very purposeful. And that's when I decided that I wanted to do something different in Bolivia and going to South America with Franciscan Mission Service was the answer to what I was
like. Hard to do to, first of all, I know how close you were with your family, and, my heart always went out to you when your sister was going through that and all of that. We shared, it was a parallel time frame for us, but how did you just turn your life over? Did you sell your apartment? Did you have to sell your belongings? You basically left your current life entirely and went away. How difficult or easy was that for you?
I decided over a long period of time, and I will tell you that literally there was a point in my life where I would wake up one day and say, I'm going to go away. I'm going to, I'm leaving. I'm going, can't wait. I'm so excited. And then the next day I'd be like, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I can't do it. Too much of a change. So I went back and forth for months. But once I was decided, like, meaning like I got into the program I wanted to be in, and I knew what I was going to be doing. And they had this notion of a ministry of presence. So like I would be accompanying people, and like I really subscribed to that quite a bit. Once kind of, it was very like, it was not just like, you know, an idea or like a fantasy or something like, oh, maybe I could do that. But it was like, I had it all kind of planned out and I knew how it would work. Then I was very committed. And to answer your question, yes, I gave most of my stuff away. So I gave away my car to like this really cool nonprofit in Orlando, like outside of Orlando, that works with immigrants. I was like, and it was run by like a really cool nun. So I was like so happy to give her my car, and I'm like, here, it's yours, take it. And
what's a really cool nun, by the way? Just
she is just bomb. I don't know how to describe her. I have actually met a lot of cool nuns in my journey, but just very like says what's on her mind, doesn't wear her outfit. It's not like, she's like dressed like you and me, and she's just got fire in her belly, and she's fighting for the people who really need her to kind of speak on their behalf. And so anyway, so she was super cool. I gave her my car. I did sell some stuff like, I forget, I don't know if it was eBay or whatever I used, but pretty much a lot of my friends that I had made in Florida came to my house and they were like, I want your TV, but I can't spend like whatever you spent on it. I'm like, okay, how much can you give me? And they're like, $200. I'm like, take the TV. So things like that. But it was really good, and it didn't matter. I had plenty of money in the bank at that time, so the money was not really the issue. I was happy to give things to people who needed or wanted them.
How long did you think that you would be away?
The plan was 2 years, and that's what ended up happening. Yeah, so I knew I was going to be gone for 2 years. I put some, you know, whatever kind of I wanted to keep, I put in storage, but like, oh, and I gave away, I forgot what the organization was. I don't remember. Anyway, they took my bed, like, which was like kind of brand new. I lived in Orlando for like less than 2 years. So all my furniture and everything was brand new, and everything, either I gave it away or like, so
what did your friends think when you were saying like, I'm going to Bolivia for 2 years and I'm getting rid of everything I own and I'm just going to start fresh? And then we'll talk about what starting fresh actually was after we talk about Bolivia.
I think in the beginning, people thought I was like pulling their leg and I wasn't actually going to do it. Like, it just like sounded good. It's the type of thing that you say that like, yeah, I'm going to go on mission, and I'm just going to go. People were like, all right, you know, I think, but I was surprised. I think in the beginning, people just kind of went along with it. And some people challenged me, definitely. Some people challenged me, not in a bad way, but they were like, dude, we know you plan everything out and you have thought this through. Like, I am not, you know, I am a little impulsive in a fun way, but not like this. Like for life stuff, I'm very thoughtful. And I actually had a friend who told me, how can I support you? And she was like a project manager, like a certified whatever project PM. I was like, could you do a project plan for me? So she did like a project plan for me, which was very helpful. And I, you know, added to it. I have like project planning in my blood. So like, but it was like a good foundation. And so we like planned everything, like buy the boxes for the move, get rid of everything, put stuff in storage, you know, sell the car or get rid of the car, which was in my case, you know. And then there were so many things to do. I didn't own anything at the time. I was just renting. So I you know, just ended my lease, as luck would have it, just ended right when the thing was up. And I remember telling my landlord, yeah, I'm like going to South America. And he was like, okay, whatever. Like, I think a lot of people thought I was weird, but then like when I had like a plan and I made it make sense, I think they were like, okay, well, she thought about it. So I think then people got on board, including my family, who, you know, they were very supportive.
And were they surprised that you like were going to do this, or they weren't surprised at all? They know you.
No, I think it definitely was a surprise. Like, I mean, but like I said, I had thought about it for a long time. So it's not like, you know, I just like called everybody one day and said, I'm going. I had said, I'm thinking of doing this. I want to do this.
Okay.
You know, this is like kind of what's tugging in my heart right now. So like, I think prepared people, including myself. Like, I think I needed to kind of talk about it enough that I thought it was a good plan also. But by the time like it was all said and done, I think everybody was on board. And I really appreciate that. I really didn't have anybody who was like, you're nuts. This is such a, you know, like irresponsible thing or crazy thing, or how, you know, how do you think this is going to work? I mean, a lot of people ask me like, how are you going to survive without a salary, or like, you're going to be in a developing country? But I mean, you know, I had an answer, and
And how did it go? Like, now that it's in the rearview mirror, how was it? How did you survive? What did you see? Did you change as a person?
Yeah. So it went great. It was a wonderful experience. I would absolutely do it again. Um,
Would you recommend other people do it?
I do recommend other people do it. I mean, not this minute, this second, just 'cause the state the world is in, but like when things calm down in the world, I do think it is a lovely thing to do. I think our country, incidentally, needs lots of love too. So I don't think you need to go that far. Like in retrospect, like that's one thing I considered is like, I didn't actually need to go that far. Because when I came back and I worked in the South Bronx, that was mission work too. There was a lot of work. I worked almost as hard or maybe harder in the work that I did in the South Bronx. So you don't have to go that far to find people who need like a little extra support and
Mhm.
love in their life. I think there's people all around us that need it. So that's the one thing I would say is different. But it was nice to do it like so far away because like literally the rug is pulled out from underneath you and you are like in a place that you've never been. You don't even know where to go buy your groceries. I fortunately I spoke the language, so like that wasn't a problem for me, but like some people didn't, but still like you're learning everything again and you realize how um you know how it feels to not be in control or to not be like at the top of your game. Like you're just, I don't know where to go get that, and I don't know if these people are charging me more or less, and like so there was, I don't even know where to exchange money. I got to go exchange money because I can't use US dollars here, so I got to go. Yeah, so everything is a process, everything, and everything was brand new. And in addition to doing the work that I was doing, but we do have like a little transition time. I was with the host family for a little while. They were very nice and helpful and getting me to acclimate to the culture and the country. And once we were on our feet and through all of the introductory orientation time, I was ready to work, and we were responsible for finding the organizations that we wanted to partner with. So I really like that. And I ended up choosing to work with incarcerated women, formerly incarcerated women. And then I also worked with an organization that employed like over 200 knitters. And it was a for-profit company, but she was like, it was like an, ethically responsible company. And just the work that they did was phenomenal. The owner was American. And that's kind of how I ended up getting associated with that organization. I ended up using a lot of my business background in that particular role.
So
So
you
that was
took
really,
an
really fun.
uncomfortable position and made it as comfortable for yourself as you could.
Yes. So I remember explaining to like I don't know, I'll call her my coach, the person who worked at the mission organization in the United States. When I would meet with her, I would say, I need to do that business consulting role because it's my comfort zone. And I need to be in my comfort zone every once in a while just to kind of like stabilize myself and then go back into that prison or go back and, to work with the formerly incarcerated women. And like, that was just such a harsh,
Right. What
yeah,
was
like
your,
reality that
which,
I didn't know.
which experience did you grow more from? I know that your business consulting role is your comfort zone, and I'm sure that they were happy you were there, and you probably helped them set procedures and plans and to better their knitting organization. But where did you learn and grow from the most? I'm assuming it's the prisoner side of things.
Yeah, it was so I worked with formerly incarcerated women, so women that had been in the prison and were out and were like kind of trying to restart their life. And I was an instructor for a life skills workshop. And that was really fun because one of the things that I did there was I did a speech class. So I would have them give speeches. And this was, I mean, in general, lots of people are afraid of speaking in front of other people. So that's like a really, that's a skill that a lot of people need development or work in because a lot of people don't like doing it and are very uncomfortable with it. But in particular, culturally, the women in Bolivia and in Cochabamba in particular, they were kind of, second class citizens. Like they were not really outspoken. They were, culturally speaking, people didn't really ask them their opinion a lot or like, how do you feel about things? So that particular part of that work was very rewarding because people found their voice literally and like those conversations and those speeches and them saying things it was very life-changing for them. But I do think in the end of the day, the work that I did inside the prison was the most rewarding work, and where I learned the most about how in my worst times, and I had worst times when I was on mission, the women in that prison held me up. And so they completely flipped the script, where I was supposed to be there supporting them when I was like, homesick during the holidays, and I was like literally like had a sick stomach or like whatever, I wasn't like myself. They would be like, come on, like Hady, like you're such an awesome person, you have to like, come on, get back, and we miss you, we miss when you're happy, and we miss seeing your smile, and come on, you like, they were so encouraging to me and trying to lift my spirits.
Isn't it so nice when you can, like, because I think that's very team membership. I'm trying to struggle for the right word. It's very innate to want to help people when they're down. But unfortunately in the real world, it gets overshadowed and overlaid by competition and, spite and just all these other negative things. But I'm glad it was so raw and so wholesome, and it was such a good relationship. Do you think it might have also been foreshadowing for, your current purpose? And I know you sound confused, but in giving them the life skills and giving them the ability to do public speaking and giving them a voice for, people that have been underrepresented, it almost sounds like you're doing those identical things today. Helping people find their voice, helping them speak up, helping them, fine tune and articulate what they might be lacking or what they need. So,
yeah, I think that's right. I do feel like in a lot of ways that work helped me for like the next job that I had, which was at the school, at the elementary school that I did the community school work at. And then even like what you said, like I'm doing similar work now, even though it has a very different name. But the kind of principles of like, still advocating on behalf of people that are underrepresented or for some reason are not able to advocate for themselves or are not giving them an opportunity to advocate for themselves, whatever way you want to look at it. I do feel like that is consistent throughout.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. So now it makes sense, because you did make me raise my eyebrows. I'm like, what are you talking about?
It was like you were scared. Where are you going?
No. I see how you connected the dots. I think that's a good way of looking at it.
So when you got back, well, I don't want to like fast forward your trip, but I know your time is tight on our conversation here. When you got back, what changes in your life did you immediately make? And did you get an apartment and a car and have to start fresh? Did you blow through all your money? I mean, like how deep into this did you get on the volunteering side? And did you come back to some kind of stable existence here?
Yeah, the coming back part was not good. It was very challenging. They call it, there's a word for it that I can't remember. It's reverse something. But anyway,
did you feel guilty for having all that you had?
Well, a little bit, but that's not even it. It's just what happens is when you go there, you have this culture shock because you're in someone else's culture, and you keep saying, well, I'm American. This is how we do it in America. We don't buy our groceries this way. We don't do it this way. We do it that way. Then you go back to America and it turns out it's not exactly how you remembered it. And then you feel like it's called reverse culture shock, if I'm not mistaken, because how you remembered it, because you romanticize it is what it amounts to. And then you come back and you're like, oh, it's not exactly the way I thought it was. And now I feel like I don't belong here either. And then you're like really tripping, because I remember I went to the supermarket in California. I was visiting family, and I remember I was in Target, and I had to check out using the machine, and I had never done that before. And the people behind me were like, what the hairy heck? Like, don't you know how to use the machine? Get going. We got places to be. And I was like, oh my God. Like, and I was just like, I was so nervous and like felt dumb and felt, like so many things in that moment, because I didn't know how to cash out, like check out with using the machine. And I also felt very like angry at those people because they were not kind to me, and I was not used to that. either. Like,
You overcome that situation. What did
yes,
you do?
yeah, I'm over that.
No, how did you say to the
Oh,
people
I
behind you, like, can you show me how to use this machine?
I don't know. I don't know what I did, to be honest with you. I don't even know if I probably should have said that. I don't know that I did, because I was very embarrassed that I didn't know how to use it. And I was a little bit maybe too embarrassed to ask for help. So I think I just fumbled my way through it until I figured it out. I mean, it's not that hard, as you know, but I just had never done it before. Um, but yeah, that reverse culture shock, that's just an example, but there were many examples like that. I will say that the first Christmas, I also had a hard time just of the abundance that we have in this country of like food and presents and, you know, oh my God, it's the holidays. And like, it wasn't like that over there. It was, you know, really low key. I mean, it's the holidays there and people get together, but the emphasis is not on the same things, which we're much more material culture, and there they kind of value more the people. So it's like, you're the present, you're the gift, so you can come and just be like, I came to celebrate the holidays with you, and they're like, you're here, and that's it, that's enough.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to say that that couldn't be the case here, but I do think there are, you know, more expectations here.
Yeah, I do think that, you know, the pandemic has kind of humbled all of us and brought us back to, you know, backyard barbecues instead of going to elaborate restaurants for gatherings.
Yeah.
And I really, really do enjoy it. You know, I don't necessarily love going out to dinner at 8 o'clock at night and spending $200-300 and coming back. And, but, you know, so it really has brought a little bit more living lean and being humble to the environment. But I see what you're saying, and coming back and getting that shock.
Yeah, it really was a shock. And I didn't come to New York right away, which is where I mostly lived all my life, although I lived in Florida immediately before I went away. But I ended up moving to Kansas first with someone that I met on missions. So I was there for 6 months, and I actually took a job as the head of like a food co-op. So I was like a supermarket manager. For
So
like 6 weeks.
you found love in Bolivia and then became a supermarket manager in Kansas.
Correct. And then I found unlove, and then I moved to New Hampshire with a really good friend of mine, and I was in Nashua in New England during like July, August, September, October, which is like arguably the best time to be in New England, and it was amazing. I had a really nice time there, and then I came to New York when I got my job. So that didn't, so I didn't have a job all that time. That's one thing. So I had to live very conservatively. And even when I got my job, I was working for a nonprofit. I was working for the YMCA. So I wasn't making a lot of money. I was living in New York on the Upper East Side. And so most of my money went to rent, and I was poor. So, you know, I was broke.
Before Bolivia, you started out relatively comfortable, nice amount of money in the bank, came back, and then had to kind of start over.
Yeah, I mean, I still have money in the bank, but not a lot, not the same amount.
Yeah, no, but you know what? It sounds like you paid for a whole bunch of experiences that a lot of people will never have in their lifetime.
Yeah.
So some people blow it on a cruise to Alaska, and you kind of took it and invested it in yourself.
I agree. That's a wonderful way to look at it.
So now that you're back, and yeah, you don't belong in Kansas. That's not you. They can't handle Hady in Kansas.
I know, it was really funny, but I was living in Manhattan, Kansas, and the communities there was very nice. They were very like liberal, open place. Kansas State University is there, so a lot of professors in the community, and you know, I worked at this like kind of like a Whole Foods of Kansas, but like low key. And anyway, it was a very, it was my kind of crowd, actually. Like I really enjoyed the people there, and I actually still have a very good friend from that 6 weeks. So
great.
It paid off.
That's part of your whole, you know, life tour. I love it. We should make t-shirts. So now you're back. You said you're in the city?
I'm in Brooklyn right now.
Okay. And now you're working back for corporate. How is there no entrepreneurial like experience in there? Why did that never happen for you?
I don't have that gene. It's funny. My dad owned a shoe store like my whole life. So he was an entrepreneur, and like, you know, you'd think that like I grew up, you know, like with him always having his own business, but I do think that I did see a lot of the drawbacks of him, at least the kind of business he had. He worked 7 days a week. He was always working. He was always like hustling, making sure that, like if it was like graduation time or like Mother's Day or like these big holidays, he was like at the store and like, you know, it wasn't easy and he wasn't around a lot. And I feel like, and it always felt like he was on the cusp of like going out of business too. So I feel like, maybe the fact that he was an entrepreneur and that's what I saw made me very gun shy to try and go down that path. I'm too conservative in my approach.
Yeah, everything you
That's
said,
a big risk.
everything you said is spot on. It is absolutely spot on. There are ups and downs, and because as you know, I'm an entrepreneur, and so many times, just every word that you said resonated with me so strongly. And it's, I may end up back in corporate one day just for the security of not having those ups and downs that entrepreneurial life can bring. But it's interesting how everyone keeps touting the whole entrepreneurial life and just, pivot, switch gears. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And I don't think they realize just, romanticizing the idea of being an entrepreneur has and continues to be overshadowing the realistic and the reality and even the financial structure of being an entrepreneur. And that is a slippery slope to walk. And unfortunately, it is really, really being romanticized with the Gary V's and with everyone out there who just puts entrepreneurship as like the next best step.
Well, yeah, and they make it sound like it's so easy when it's not like even close to it. And it's like a ongoing thing. At least my father had a shoe store for like 30 years until the very end. He was hustling. So it never was like
he thought, I don't know anything else. I'm not going to work for someone else. This is what I do. I'm going to just grind and do it every day because it becomes your identity for sure. And it's hard to give up. It's hard to, even when you see it sinking or anything like that, it's hard to just give up and give in. But yeah, so, okay, that's why entrepreneurship never came into we won't put that on the t-shirt.
No, okay. Not yet anyway. There's still time, but I don't think so unless I hit the lotto.
Okay, so talk to me about what you're doing now and talk to me about, you don't necessarily have to talk to me about your everyday job with Cloudflare, but you can talk to me about your current work in diversity and equity and inclusion.
Okay, so yeah, I am a customer success manager at Cloudflare, but the job that wakes me up in the morning, or I guess keeps me going, is that I am the global lead for Latinflare, which is our employee resource group for Latinx employees. And
Latinx, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, Latinx is, I guess, anybody who identifies with ancestry in, Spain, Portugal, South America, Central America, the Caribbean, includes Brazil. So if you're Spanish speaking or Portuguese speaking, that's typically Latinx. That includes everybody. And, we're very underrepresented in tech. Right now, best case, there's like, a tech has about 8% Latinx makeup, so the population is 8%, and that includes men and women. And I'm going to venture to say that there's probably more men than women in tech. I think that's like a fair thing to say. So you figure Latinx women probably are like 3% of all of tech. So there's not a lot of us. And so that's why we, the purpose of the employee resource group is really to build community, a support system, give people kind of a good sense of belonging, a place to call home. And then, really, what I try to do is focus on how to make impact. So how can we help with recruiting? How can we help to advance people within the organization? So if I told you that there's 8% Latinx in tech, that does not include in leadership. When it goes up to the leadership, there's like 3%. So, a Latina woman like me is probably 0 in tech right now, or very close to 0 in terms of in a management position. So
okay.
There's a lot of
did you guys like peel back the layers and figure out where the fallout is? Like what happens? Because I know that companies are definitely trying to better their numbers when it comes to recruiting and hiring of diversity or diverse candidates. And then when you get into the organization, there is fallout, and the pool of diverse people becomes smaller and smaller and smaller to then choose from. But where are people going? Why are they leaving organizations? Or
Yeah, a lot of reasons. I don't think there's just one. One is so I feel like it kind of, there's a couple of things. One is like they don't feel valued, they don't feel appreciated, so that's a big problem. They're not getting promoted, or they're not advancing. That's another problem. They may not have good, like a mentor or a sponsor or someone who can coach them. Or is, lots of people say, like if I see somebody like me, there's a higher propensity for me to believe that something is possible for me, and they're not seeing a lot of people like them in leadership roles, so that's very discouraging.
Okay, so there's so what I'm gathering is that there's both sides of the table. The person themselves isn't stepping forward to ask for the job, and then the people who are in hiring positions to promote aren't necessarily seeking them out or mentoring them. I know when I first started at corporate, and I'm just a white female, when Dory Shimoda came into the company, I was knocking on his door before he can even warm up his new seat in his little broom closet that they gave him to work in. I was like, hello, you're going to be in charge of the e-business group. I want to work for you.
Yeah.
I plowed through. I asked for it. I asked for every advancement that I got in corporate. Nobody came to me saying, hey, I've been observing and you're doing a good job. I just went out there. So I think there's responsibility on both sides for people to have a greater voice and to ask more for what they want or what they're looking for, as well as on the other side.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I also feel like there's a little bit of, it's not the same when you're the only in a room. There is a little bit, like understandably, a little bit of fear and intimidation that maybe, you're not going to be considered in the same way that someone else will. And, you don't have people to go, you don't always have a lot of people to go to who can give you that support and or that sponsorship. So people might not be speaking on your behalf. People might not know who you are. I definitely feel employees are responsible for taking charge of their career and the direction they wanted to move in. I just understand and appreciate that it's not always as easy as it sounds. There are some, real roadblocks that sometimes prevent people from advocating on their behalf as much as they could. Yeah.
Do you feel that you can make a greater difference in coaching and mentoring and teaching people how to go after what they're looking for, or even, how to be better managers in the future? Do you think that you can make a bigger difference when they're young, like in school years, at school age? Or do you think that there's, a difference that could be made in the corporate environment? Is it like turning a cruise ship when you get into corporate, or can you make a bigger difference in the teachings that are currently going on now in the schools?
Yeah, no, I think it's both. I think it's as they say, the both and. I think we need to be in the schools, we need to be promoting, in the case of tech, STEM all across, I worked in an elementary school when I was working in a school. Those children were getting a lot of exposure to science and technology and math, even at that early age. And I think that's how it should be. And I think that when you're young and you're in an underrepresented group, you should always feel that all of that is accessible and possible for you. So you should always, that's how you should grow up. And I also feel when you enter, because knowing that even when that is the case, graduating from school, going to college, graduating from college, getting placed in a, a tech company like Google or Amazon, that's not everybody. That's so few and far between. So by the time you get to that point, I think you've demonstrated a lot, and you've, certainly have a lot of potential if you've made it that far. But it's not really about potential. It's about like creating an environment where people feel valued and appreciated and can really bring their best self and feel like, you know, when you speak up, people listen. And when you give an idea, people are like, oh, that's a good idea. And people value you as a teammate. And all that is really important. So I do feel like you need to do it early on so people could aspire to get to the, you know, to the Googles and the Amazons and, you know, what have you. And then I feel you also need people and ERGs to be creating spaces where people feel they belong and are valued and appreciated when they arrive, because they're going to need that extra support. It's quite hard to navigate an organization when you're the only in spaces.
Right. Now, the meetings that you hold and any efforts that you currently do with your diversity, equity, and inclusion projects or programs, do they have participation of the executives, or are most of the people that are showing up from the typing pool? I'll say typing pool because that sounds like 1950, when just only the women who never had a voice were just typists in the typing pool. So are you finding that you have participation all around, or are executives willing to take an hour or two and just sit there and listen to, you know, their staff and their people and really hear it?
It's an excellent question, Jessica. And the truth is that we need to do better there, because it's not as much as it should or could be. And if you really want to move the needle on diversity, equity, and inclusion in any organization, it has to start from the top, because people will model the behavior that they see. And if management is not demonstrating that something is important to them or a priority for them, it will be easy for other people to walk away from it too and say, well, you know, it sounds kind of interesting, but like, yeah, I got to go focus on my sales numbers. So see ya. And so we do have a lot of work to do there. There's always room for improvement.
Yes, yes. It is challenging. It is challenging because you don't want to call someone out for their difference, you know, whether it's ethnicity, race, or ethnicity and race the same thing? Wow, I sound naive. I'm so silly. But, you know, gender, ethnicity.
They're similar.
But you don't want to call someone out and take them under your wing and say, hey, you know, you're a Latina woman, you know, come be my apprentice or something. You know, you're going to be looking at that person being like, well,
I have to tell you that if someone told me that, well, Jess, I'll tell you that if someone told me that, I mean, not exactly in those words, but even if they said in those words, I'd go for it, because I would love to have someone take me under their wing. I that is like my dream wherever I go, and it's hard to find. I mean, you remember when we worked together, I actually did have someone in that organization that took me under her wing. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Val?
I do. Val Porter?
Yeah, and how kind she was to me. She did take me under her wing, and she coached me, and she
got the chills. I love hearing
you're gonna be a rock star. I believe in you. Don't listen to the noise. I mean, she was amazing.
You're a given. Like, you're a given. You're a sure thing. Like, you would have gotten there with or without a mentor. That's just you. You're an absolute firecracker. And you can stand out in a crowd, an organization, and anyone can pluck you out and say you're going to be a success. It's the people that aren't, you know, as vocal or as, you know, visible, that have a hard time of progressing. So yeah, again, that goes back to there's onus on the employee themselves, and there's also onus on the mentors. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a great mentor is Dory was my mentor. And it was just great. It meant so much to me. It's like having the best teacher in the world.
So I have to tell you, I shared a Doryism the other day. So this is funny, and there were many isms that ran around our circles, but I did mention him. I was speaking to a group of students who are part of a boot camp called Full Stack Academy here in New York City, and it was like a career panel, and they were asking for career advice. And I said one of the best pieces of career advice that I got was from Dory. I didn't mention his name, but I described him. He told me when I said, like, how are you like in charge of e-commerce? Like, I don't really remember what my question was, but it was something along the lines of like, how did you get here? And like, how should I like try to grow in this space? And he's like, oh, I don't know anything. I made it up. I make it up. Or something to along those lines. I make it up. And I was like, what is he? I didn't know him at the time. That's like my first meeting with him. I'm like, what are you talking about? You make, I'm like, oh, you do? And he was just like, yep, I made the whole thing up. But like, he wasn't being completely honest because he's actually very smart and very intelligent, as we both know. But he was being honest in that, like, if you have that basic, like, level of intelligence and you have a vision and you have passion, you're going to have to create the path. And for e-commerce at Chase at that time, he was creating the path and he made stuff up, but it was like legitimate stuff. And he did, so
because he's at that high level, like the 3,000 foot level.
And he was such a visionary, if you think about it. Like he could make stuff up and then get us all to like march to that drum and execute and make it happen.
Right.
But like I have kept that in my mind over the years, because even like when I became the ERG lead at Cloudflare, there were other ERGs, but anyway, I don't like doing what other people do. I like kind of creating my own path. And so to that degree, I like making stuff up. So I was like, I'm going to make this whole thing up and see how it goes. But it was based on, like I said, vision and like a solid foundation of like, I know what I want my end game to be. I know my parameters that I'm working from, like what's important that I'm trying to build here. And I'm going to just forge this path. And so that Dory thing stood with me.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm so glad that he made an impact in you too. And you know what? It really did when it comes to executives in corporate or anything like that. People may feel, oh, they're not approachable. But for me, he's always like, oh, take this up to, to Greg Gorman's office or what have you, or, go have a conversation with him, go ask him that question. So it did take someone to maybe, pave the way or, like move the brush out of the way in order for you to approach. And once you have the ear of an executive vice president or whatever, you're just like, oh, they're just a regular person and I'm sharing ideas and now I can do anything. I can conquer the world. And I had that mindset when I first started my company with creating the Throwbee or Kona Benelli. It was just like, why not? Why not pick up the phone and call the Today Show or, QVC? Why should they not talk directly to me? I'm someone.
Yeah, congratulations, because I've followed your success and I'm not surprised with any of it, but like I'm impressed with it. And you're right, but I mean there is this thing called like imposter syndrome, and I think certain groups of people are more susceptible to that than others.
Right.
Yeah, but you obviously don't have imposter syndrome.
But it's a mindset. It is a mindset that someone gave me permission, and I believe it was Dory, but they did give me permission to make shit up and to just follow whatever it is. And why should there be a barrier in place? There shouldn't. It's only the barrier you're kind of making up in your head. And, if someone's not going to open the door for you, open it. If the door is shut, find a window. There's, but I think it did take someone to just show me the path, and that the path is there, whether you make it yourself or whether someone ushers you through. But so I hope that you are doing, some good work with your group and empowering them, because I think it's going to be very hard to change things from the top. And I think when it comes to, just in case you wanted my opinion.
Yeah, I do.
I think when it comes to policy making and then executing on the policies can come from the top. They're going to need to be executed upon, in levels below. But that's where you lose steam. That's where friction comes into play. That's where things can go awry. The human element takes over in executing those things that have been clearly written with great intention when they were written up at the top with vision, and then they get executed and everything falls apart. But as the employee and as the person and as the kid and, as the student, we really have to kind of give people a better voice, but point them in the direction that will have them speak that outwardly in order to help them advance themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Empowering employees is really important. First, you got to get people feeling comfortable and safe, because that's really important. People need to feel safe. Otherwise, they're not going to take these risks. and no one wants to lose their job. And, you know, I think a
I
lot of,
never felt safe anywhere. You gotta just,
yeah,
you never feel safe when you're at the top of the diving board. You just have to jump in and then.
um, yeah, some people feel less safe than others, I think. I don't know if I just feel like there are different things that will cause you to take more or less risk. And I feel the group that I'm working with, I think it's really important for people to feel safe enough to speak some of their concerns and ask some questions and try to understand better to, you know, how to, you know, get to where they want to go. But in the end, I agree with you that the important thing is that people feel like, you know, responsible for their own career. And it's interesting, you didn't say it just now, but you said it a few minutes ago. I recently had a conversation with my manager, and I said something along the lines of, I've been doing really good work and I've been waiting for someone to come and tell me, you're doing great work. Why don't you like go for this other position, or have you thought about this? So for as much as you know, I subscribe to and believe that the employee should own their career, there's still a part of me that feels like I'm going to do a really good job and someone's going to notice and they're going to tap me on the shoulder and say, come with me. I'm going to, you know, this is where you should go to next. And so I'm sure I'm not alone. And I don't know if it's just a Latina thing or Latinx thing, or maybe it's not anything. Maybe it's just how some people are wired. But I do feel like even I, you know, for as much as I work hard and try to pave and, you know, identify and create new pathways for people, I still feel like there's an element in me that is waiting for someone to not save me, but to come find me and be like, you're great, now you're gonna get this position. It's
You're a spiritual person. I think that person is within you. I think that person has already tapped you on the shoulder. It's within you. It's totally within you.
yeah, I'm still, I guess I'm still a work in progress myself.
Of course, we all are. We definitely all are. But you are doing good work. And I actually pulled a quote from one of the blogs that you wrote. I researched you a little bit.
Okay, what did I
It's been a
say?
while since we chatted. I had to see what you're doing out there. So you had a quote from Maya Angelou
Oh, okay.
just recently. Do you want to speak it?
um
Because I have
I,
it written down word for
yeah,
word.
I don't remember exactly what it is, but I know it's like when you know better, do better, do good until you know better, and then when you know better, do better.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
says, do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. And that really is super powerful, because once you know, of the circumstances, you know, interpretations are for whomever is hearing it or reading it. But I feel that once you know what circumstances are and you can figure out, you know, what's going on, then be better, do better. So, you know, if you see that you want to make a difference in the schools, then have, you know, maybe ask all the local schools if you can come in for a career day. And they're like, well, we don't do career day. Well, you do now, because it's important that all of your students can see, you know, people, whether it's all of the diversities, all of the different types of people, race, ethnicity, gender, what were those things I named before, come in.
Orientation.
Yeah, come in and talk about all the things you've accomplished. Talk about a little bit about where you came from, you know, good family, bad family, the road you took, how you got there, how to have a voice. You know, there's only so much that you can learn in school, and I definitely know that those are the formative years, and people have been disadvantaged, you know, throughout history, certain groups, of course. And you know, I don't know if it, giving special treatment in the adult years and the corporate side is going to make as much of an impact as, you know, having special attention and interest when they're younger, and really showing that, you know, hey, I want you to succeed, and here's some tools, and you're young and you can do it. And
Yeah. And it's so complicated too with the young ones, because like what I learned, and I studied family development during the time that I worked at the school I worked in, but it's complicated because sometimes, you know, poverty and trauma is generational. So it kind of like, it wasn't just in my case, it wasn't just working with the children, it was working with like their parents also, because there was a lot of um I want to say baggage, but that's not exactly how I would describe it. But there was a lot of stuff that happened to parents and that they were passing along to children unknowingly in some cases. And, you know, so we needed to kind of get everybody on the right path in terms of like, you know, we don't know, we can't control things that happened in the past and who said things that were very unfair and untrue. But right now we're going to focus on making sure that, you know, you and your child are fully supported and have the optimal chance to succeed, the optimum chance to succeed. We're going to do everything we can. And, you know, we're sorry for things that have happened in the past, for teachers who might have said really mean things to you or treated you very unfairly, you know, but now let's all work together to make sure your child has the best chance to succeed. And that I worked mostly with the parents when I worked at the school. I didn't work with the children. As a community school director, I worked with the staff and the parents. And that was a lot of my time and energy was spent making sure that I got them in the right mindset, like that growth mindset, that it's like, let's all work on making sure we're creating the best opportunities for these children because they're so young and there's so much potential there. So,
right.
Yeah, that is
well, you know, just when we talk about education and the young kids, same thing with college admissions. College admissions may have a nice diverse pool of kids coming in freshman year, but then you know, what filters out in the subsequent years, there's less and less diversity as the years progress, and maybe, you know, only a handful end up graduating the full term. And, you know, like there have been studies and looking into how and why that happens. And, you know, some of it is, you know, society. Some of it is, I can't go to school. I actually have to take care of my family and work, you know, because I end up paying for my parents. And
but that's my reasoning, going back, and sorry to interrupt you, but going back to why people are willing to take less risk is because there could be more at stake.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes, you know, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to take this risk, and if it doesn't work out, then, well, I'll just do the thing again. It's like, well, now I can't feed my family, or I can't pay my rent, or something more significant is at play.
Yeah.
But that was just my little alarm to tell me that I have a meeting in a few minutes, so I'm going to have to go. I'm sad because I'm really enjoying this, but I do have to go soon, Jess.
We're going to have to continue this over a bottle of wine.
I think it was really fun. I'm glad that you gave me the opportunity to talk, and you're a really good interviewer.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, it's natural because it's like chatting with a friend.
It is. Yeah. We're all friends, so it is chatting with a friend.
It is chatting with a friend. Oh, all righty. Well, thank you so much for your time, and let's do this again. And I wish you all the best always. You know, I always do.
Thanks, Jess. Congratulations on all of your success.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.